Evening.
Evening. What are we doing?
Good, good. School just started up again and life's busy and I'm learning about the the things to avoid doing while a child is wanting your attention, namely stuff that requires concentration because it makes you grumpy when they try and get your attention and then you snap at them. And so it's like, lesson learned, I need to time things better.
I feel like you should have learned that by now with how old your child is.
Um, New hobbies.
Yeah, fair enough.
You pick up a new hobby
Ready
and
for
it's all the distraction, and then child's like, I want to play with the hobby too, or to get your attention or something, and it's like, just a minute, just a minute, just a minute, and then that carries on, and then yeah, so some
wow,
lessons
that's
take a while to beat into your head with 2x4s.
look at that trouble. It's funny. I'm trying to control yours and I'm trying to get more. I need more hobbies.
Oh, you can have a couple of mine.
No, actually, I want ones that make money. Um, no, I've
Yeah.
been thinking a lot recently, which is why I wanted to chat today about my working life and what I want it to be in the long run.
Mm,
And I was hoping you could help me work through some things. It'd be
sure.
nice. Um, I really enjoy my job. It's a good baseline. Um, I'd like to do other things, but I'm sort of stuck, providing wife and children. I can't, I can't ditch it all and go back to college to finish my degree or anything like that. And I don't want to not do what I'm doing. I'm sort of having this experience of I want to do many things a little at a time. I have like six part-time jobs rather than like one really big full-time one. And I'm trying to work through logically what I can actually do. I've got so many constraints on me where I am. If I'm going to try and branch out, I need to find things that'll fit, well, as projects for now, I suppose, and potentially businesses later. I don't have a lot else besides that, to be honest. I just
Hmm. I'm just thinking,
maybe
trying
want to.
to think of insightful questions and coming up blank, but I've got some not really insightful ones. Um,
Wow, out there.
yeah. uh, there's a bunch of half-formed ones as well, but I'll start with what's formed. That where does the meaning glimmer from?
Hmm. I feel like I can find meaning in anything that's productive, anything that's not a waste of my time.
Is there anything that you can look
I
at?
don't. I I don't feel called to some greater meaning
Hmm.
with this instinct. This is more of a more practical and self-serving. How do I want my life to be? How do I want it to look? What does that mean in my time?
Is there anything that stands out to you as even if the attempt failed utterly, you would still be happy that you'd made the attempt? Because it's all very well saying you want the goal at the end of the rainbow, but what if you know you'll fail? You almost start with that assumption. Is there what what journey to a doomed goal would make it worthwhile anyway. Because then, no matter what the outcome is, it's worthwhile.
Well, there's this, for one, because even if this doesn't succeed, it's still fun to do.
Hmm.
I think the goal really is the goal. It's the most important thing. But I could see any form of progress towards that goal being the meaning. You know, if I take 5 different avenues to get there and 4 of them fail, but one of them doesn't, I wouldn't be upset that the other 4 failed.
So, what is the goal? Because it sounds like that's a specific thing in your head.
Yeah, I think self-employment is truly the goal. Or the ability to choose to be self-employed if I wanted to. What I'm endeavoring to, you know, if I was going to get all my dreams come true in, say, 5, maybe 10 years. I think I've talked before about in this industry, it's common for the farm owners to give perks rather than pay.
Hmm.
So things like they pay for a house, which isn't strictly speaking legal, but that's irrelevant, or your power or something like that, rather than giving you more money. Because it
Hmm.
makes no difference to them, really. But more money gets taxed, effectively. It's a way to actually help their employees get ahead. And they take risk for it in doing it. And they get nothing but helping out, which is great. And I can see that there are scenarios where someone who works very minimal hours in the industry, they cover other staff's days off. So maybe they do, you know, 5 hours a day, 4 days a week or something. And then the reward from that is, you know, they get a house to live in. Maybe like a little bit of money, but mostly just the house. And I was envisioning a situation where if I could get a position where I get enough, either through perks or pay, to cover base expenses, but doesn't take a majority of my time, like a full-time job would. And then anything that would be profit, effectively, I could generate through whichever one of my hobbies/business ideas succeeds.
Hmm.
It is very pie in the sky, I understand that, but it's also not about making lots of money easily, because I could make more money easily, probably, by just continuing in this field. But there's something about the exploration of the business world that I'm really interested in,
Hmm.
of having to deal with accounting and taxes and having to deal with that side of things. I've always been very fascinated with the numbers side of other businesses, how they get their cash flow, what they need to pay for the expenses, the mindset of it. And then there's the other side of it, which is when you self-direct your own time for working, you can do as much or as little as you please. And this pie in the sky idea isn't so that I could do as little as I please. It's so that I could have something outside my main job that I could throw myself into for as many hours as I have to give to see what I can make from it.
Hmm.
Whereas I'm paid salary, and most people are in my field, which is because hours are quite volatile. That makes things difficult. I could do an 80-hour week and get paid the same as a 20-hour week. And it's all sort of expectation based.
Where if you've got something on the side, then you can on in 20-hour week you can put 10 or 20 hours into that. In the 80-hour week, you can leave it and don't put any into it.
Yeah.
Mm.
And, the other half of this is that I'm going to forever be trying to support my family on single income. Not single income, but me being the only one who's working.
Mm.
The way that we want to do it, it's the way we want to raise our kids, and that's difficult in the modern world, to be entirely honest. One of the main reasons we're able to do it is because of set perks, and then government supplements on top of that. Supplements.
So, I'm my mind's going to the practicalities, which might be a little premature, but what are
Go for it.
the value propositions you have to offer people? What do you have to offer in exchange for money or whatever they wish to exchange? Because I would guess from your personality that a good quantity of eggs would be seen as good payment from your perspective, or similar.
Uh, no, actually, I'm not looking to barter in a small town.
Okay.
Um, the whole apocalypse prep thing is achieved for me by simply working on a farm. Like,
Mm.
that's enough preparation for the way that I see the potential collapse of things going.
Okay.
I do have that there, but I think that my life is generally built around the idea that it's not going to happen,
Mm.
which tells me I don't believe in it particularly. I do think it's a possibility, I suppose, but no, I would like things to eventually be businesses to generate wealth.
Mm.
And it comes down less to about what I want to do, specifically about what I can. I have to be here to do my job, and if I'm in said hypothetical scenario, it would be the same. I just have more time and freedom. I wouldn't want to be going out and doing physical jobs aside from the physical job I already have. I spend 9 hours in a tractor today. I don't want to be going somewhere else and fixing something with my hands for money.
Mm.
I would want laptop work effectively. Projects I could work on, remote stuff. Um, Obviously, the podcasting's one. I already started a while ago, and I would like this to continue to the point where people find it valuable enough to invest their time and, hopefully eventually make some money from it.
Mm.
People can be as cynical as they like about that, but it's the reality of our world. Everyone's got to eat. And I don't know, there's something about making something a business that really tickles me. I haven't explored that enough. But there's something about the difference between that and a job just feels sort of, you know, boring. Whereas the idea of running a business seems far more engaging to me. Like it's
Mm.
something I could actually care about.
I'm,
In terms
I'm
of practical work, the best things that I have are, podcasts, perhaps writing of some kind, more spoken word in another form. I could get back into programming. I could do remote database management. It'd be interesting to have a look at accounting. I seem to be good at that kind of thing. I know they can do remote stuff. I'm not too sure, to be entirely honest.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking about oh, how you see the world depends on what you aim at, and sort of going on from that. Because I've found in several, I found that to be personally true in several avenues where basically, uh, once you start looking for ways of doing something or things, once you start looking for something, you start seeing bits of it all over the place. Like, oh, this could work, but oh, it's got that issue, but it's got this positive. And um, have you had insights of that sort come up? Started seeing sort of, oh, this could be a little business. It doesn't work for these reasons, but it would have these positives associated with it, even if there are other things that make it not work as a whole. But have you started seeing that sort of thing, or thinking of things from that
Um,
perspective?
I mean, I guess so. I suppose that's where most of the idea of, freelance remote work comes in, or creating something that other people value.
Hmm.
It's very much a, I would like to do some of what I'm doing on the farm, and I would also like to do some work in, say, a beautiful office or at a cafe or something on a computer, the way that I used to when I was studying. I really enjoyed that feeling, and
Hmm.
I could do many hours of work doing that. I can't go back there, not now with the state of my family. I need to support them. Um, so I'm trying to find a way back without going back.
Well, the smallest, most easily set up one that comes to mind is websites like Fiverr and uh, things where you can offer a service that's of that kind. Yeah, remote work and design a logo type things, but
Mm.
possibly I'm just thinking there's various open university type things and getting the psychological training is possibly the wrong word, but enough knowledge to not screw things up, and then offer the chance to talk to people, possibly even just like this, over the internet. Although then that's making a ongoing commitment. You don't really
What, like a
get,
remote therapy?
yeah, something like that. Hmm.
Hmm, that's one I hadn't thought of. I actually had someone at the hospital tell me I should do that for a living.
In-person
He's
therapy or
gotten to
remote
know.
therapy?
Just in person.
Hmm.
It was just we were having a conversation and they did something really stupid and it started a fight with the patient. And I sort of jumped in and calmed everyone down. And I remember the person being like, "Wow, thank you. You should probably do that for a job because I don't know how to do that." And he was, a doctor in the field for the last 15 years or some shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the sort of that sounds like something that's worth listening to in the sense of he'd know in order to be able to
Yeah,
say that, and it's a skill that you don't need to study for.
I suppose so. I could fulfill some role there. I've always been very good at helping other people with their troubles and particularly helping two people work together who wouldn't otherwise.
Hmm.
Perhaps what staff conflicts. Yeah. It's getting a bit peoply for my taste. It's very reliant upon, there is a job site I need to go to. I can only do as much work as is required from you know, what, clients, I
Mm.
suppose.
Yeah, because if you're
It'd be nice to be
that's
able to do. That's a good question, actually.
mm,
I've been looking into a lot of remote work, remote learning through Open Polytech, as you mentioned. But I was looking all in the tech sector because that's where I have experience. And of course, you can only do so much in that before it becomes essential that you be on site for licensing software reasons, etc. Having physical machines that you can work on.
what about
I wonder how much
remote tutoring?
I could do. I'm still in the skills acquisition phase.
Mm.
Right now, it needs to be something I can work on as a project for, a couple years to get skills up, say studying something or getting accreditation in something or getting a skill in something or several somethings ideally. But then obviously later on you would want it to be something that could also be practiced in
I'm
that way.
just
I, I was just thinking,
mm,
I wonder if something like psychological education is more applicable to remote learning.
yeah, well, sort of life skills, sort of get your life in order type tutoring. Like uh, kids essentially come to a university environment not knowing what they're doing, and it's sort of like, okay, you're an adult now, and there's sort of an expected period of floundering during which some degree of partying happens, and some sort of freelance mentorship, sort of advertised mainly by word of mouth, and I'll give you $5 to put flyers up at the appropriate places around this university, remotely,
Hmm.
and sort of, okay, what are you doing? I'm thinking of, you know how Peterson talked about, getting a law firm paid him to go through their partners or their high performing lawyers and help them get their lives in order so that they'd perform better at work. And they were paid by the company but working for the people, and something of that style where you help people study by them getting their life in order and almost uh, self-authoring with you mediating it.
I think I'd be quite good at that, to be entirely honest, but it seems it seems like it would be something that would be very difficult to have happen circumstance wise.
Hmm.
Like there's a lot of things that would need to align. You know, obvious questions come up like why would someone listen to me? Who am I? What have I done? I dropped out of university. Why would someone in university listen to me
Hmm.
in getting their life together? Whether or not I'd be good at it, which I think I would. It doesn't seem, beyond the extension of which we would give people advice on this show.
Because if you're going to be talking about, if it's going to be a person-centered thing, it's going to have to be regular as well. So that takes away the advantage of it being self-employed thing where you pick your hours.
Yeah, like there's some situations where I could see myself doing something like that, but ideally, what I would like to do is more thing orientated work,
Mm.
where there's like a project that I could sit down for however much time I have and do it.
Mm. Sort of like passive income streams where you put something on the internet and every now and again someone pays a couple of dollars for it, and you put 100 of them up. So then
Yeah,
a couple of dollars a week for each of the 100 starts adding
that
up.
that would be ideal. But this isn't about trying to get out of doing work.
Mm.
It's about if there was a pool of work that I could do that paid hourly even, that it wasn't business-based, that was, say, contract-based, but I knew that the pool was always larger than I had time to do,
Anything
that would
of
be ideal.
Yeah, anything of that type, you're going to be some element of cog in someone else's machine. Even if you're a cog who can come and go
Yeah,
as they please.
I'm not opposed to that.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, the whole self-employed idea would be awesome for, say, what we're doing now, or creating something, say, writing my own program that people use, or whatever else it may be. Perhaps I write something else professionally, or do, freelance something, at which point you're still based on other people. But it's more it's more about being able to do work when I have time and get a benefit out of it. I don't like when I'm not working at my job, sitting around and doing nothing. I
Hmm.
would rather work more. And if I could do that from my home, through the internet, and I would do that regardless of difficulty, really. And obviously, I'd want it to be something that paid well. I wouldn't do it if it was $5 an hour, but this is not one of those, I want to get rich and do nothing kind of thoughts. This is,
Micro
I would like
jobs.
I would like an infinite stack of work that pays well that I can do when I have time.
Hmm.
And if it paid better than my current job, that'd be amazing. But I don't know if I'd leave it. That's a good question.
Well, I just Googled micro jobs and
Mm,
uh
not familiar with the term.
oh, I just made it up because it felt like it fitted and it turned out it was that thing.
Ah, okay.
Uh there's transcription. That's click worker. Yeah, various things on there. Like if you learned another language, you'd be able to do little translating jobs, and there'd be a probably steady pool of that. Image tagging. Uh,
Mm. I do want to be proud of what I do, though. But that's another part of it. I don't want something that I feel is beneath me.
yeah.
Perhaps that's part of my instinct to want to do something other than just farming.
I do wonder if you'd be able to find that intersection of meaningful and commitmentless.
Perhaps what I'm really working up to here is that I want to do something other than farming. But I'm in a pickle because I need this to support my family. I can't just walk out of here and get myself a, $85 to $95,000 a year job, which is not
But
what I'm getting paid. But if I was going to, you know,
but
be
what you can do,
several somewhat equal to
mm,
where I am, perks included, it would need to be somewhere around there.
you can spend time investing towards that though. You don't have the possibility of walking into another job is low. The possibility of uh, finding a small thing to pay on the side is unknown, but iffy. Um, but you still have time you're wanting to spend productively, and uh, while it's not really feasible to do full-timed courses in that time you have, there are lots of open university type things
Mm.
where you can study the material and learn it, possibly do multiple courses on the same subject from various free sources, and get to the point where you can then get a paid one, remote learning from a New Zealand university or something, and breeze through it because you've already studied most of the material and passed it on something else. So then once you finally
That
do
seems ideal.
invest, yeah.
That does seem ideal, that this is the training phase. That I wouldn't mind purely doing education on the side and then switching to something else later, I suppose. Just I'm in such a hard spot. I get paid well here, and it supports my family. But I know I can do more. I know I can do much better.
Because it
I
sounds like,
wish I had gone to. I wish I was me now when I had gone to university originally. I grew up too late,
hmm,
and now I'm sort of stuck in a job, and I want to escape. But the perks are good enough to keep me here, and I can't go back to living off student wages. They're not enough. Not with, my third child on the way.
hmm.
It's a hard situation. Maybe I could make it work with government allowances, but I'm not a big fan of that either.
Would it be possible to, in addition to raw training on the side, which is low in commitment, um, but probably entirely dependent upon your own self motivation, would it be possible to pick up uh, side jobs around the township where the goal is to pick up skills? So you say, I'm happy to work for not much. I can't do regular hours because it'll depend on other things, but I want to learn the skills of most of the jobs in the town. So then you
I
do.
get I get the
Hmm,
idea, but I think I don't want to aim low if I'm going to think about this.
hmm,
I want to get university level skill
hmm,
out of something. Engineering would be cool. The more I think about that, physics would be great. Computer science, programming.
if you put 10 years into it, you could get Eng with engineering, and then your signature has power, and then you set your own hours. But that's a long road to get there.
Was it 10 years of part time or 10 years of full time?
Probably 10 years of full time. I'm thinking 4 years of degree and
Mm.
another 6 years of industry experience to build up to getting your accreditation, which, like getting your degree in engineering or bachelor's or whatever you go for, is your entry to the industry, and then you gain experience as an actual engineer, and then you get that recognized, and then you get the ability to sign on the dotted line and say, this is strong enough, now give me my wad of cash.
Mm. I'm just sort of playing it through in my head, and I'm wondering if the conditions that I wanted met are actually the conditions I want. If I could walk out of here today and walk into a job that I find worthy of my mind, worthy of my talents, perhaps, would I care if I had to move? town or city. Would I care if it was remote or not? It's really hard to say.
I have to say, from my outside perspective, I suspect you wouldn't care, considering how much you've jumped around over the past few years.
Yeah. I perhaps I'm yeah. Perhaps I'm a lot happier in more places than I thought I would be. I didn't like the last few things that I did because they felt like they were beneath me. This last year in farming was a challenge, and I liked that. And I like being outdoors. I like the rain and the wind and the sun and driving around the farm, you know, feeling the breeze in my hair every day. Reason to get up to see the sunrise and the stars. I like that.
That's making me
But it
think,
is beneath me. It's making me think what?
oh, game hunter slash tour guide, something, your description there. But then that's not necessarily the intellectual challenge, although nature can be pretty challenging.
I think that's perhaps why I had that original instinct of I want both. There's something peaceful and quiet about it. Yeah, but it's not a peaceful or quiet job. Mm,
I wonder if it's the the job is real in the sense that in a city, it's everything is human made, human designed, human thought out, and therefore, in from one perspective, it's only as real as the thoughts that went into it. It's like
yeah,
you're not. So like if you compare the experience of a hunter-gatherer to the experience of a civilized person in a city, you live in a square house built of building materials and eat food that comes from packets in a shop, versus your shelter is made of bits of tree, your clothes are made of bits of animal, and here are some more bits of animal on your plate. It's much closer to reality, the base reality, rather
yeah,
than filtered away from it.
and my job is a lot closer to the hunter gatherer than it is to the lawyer, for
Yeah.
example. The meat that we eat for dinner each night was the cow that was in paddock number 14 for the last 2 years,
Mm.
and I knew that cow. I get up, I go outside, it's cold, or it's windy, or it's rainy, and I feel that on my face.
Mm.
I can hoon around on the quad bike and feel the wind, through my hair. I very often get hit by bugs, and it's annoying. But I don't know, there's something about it that I really like.
The reality of life slapping you in the face.
I suppose
Yeah.
it doesn't feel unpleasant. It's just an experience.
Mm.
It's at the point of, it's bitterly cold and raining, and I'm not bothered by it at all. It's
Mm.
just like this is just what it is. It's not here to be an inconvenience to me. It's just what it is today.
Mm.
And there's something else about it that's really good as well. That in the job, it's it's always things that need to be done. Every other job I've had has been sort of time based. Like you need to do this thing for X amount of hours,
Yeah.
and then when you're done, you go home and someone else will do it. Um, you go on the break and someone else will cover you to do the thing for X amount of time. Suppose the restaurant was the only other difference in that, which I really loved because it was all task orientated. do the task, then do that task, then do that task. This one's come up. You need to solve this. Prioritize that. That needs done first.
And if you
I really
work
liked that.
and if you work really well, you run out of tasks, and then it's like, oh, okay, now we
Yes,
can think about it
farming
more.
is farming's like that. It's
Hmm.
exactly like that. Every day there are a set of tasks, and the better you are at the job, the faster you do the task, and the faster you get to go home or do more tasks to make things easier for tomorrow.
Something that sort of combining a few of these in an odd way, and there's various things I've heard about the mental health issues in the farming industry,
Mm,
and I wonder if there's a niche there for you.
okay. What have you heard though? I'm curious.
Various groups coming up on the radio and the news talking about bad mental health in the farming industry, basically. Just that people just dealing with their stuff and not talking about it, and struggling without saying anything. And there's a few charities that work in that area, but it feels like it's a niche to go there, join someone on a farm, and while working on said farm, help them sort their head out, if that makes sense. Because I suspect you'd be able to, like Socratic method, get them to find the answer. Because if you walk up to someone who's a very self reliant person, as many farmers are, and tell them, oh, this is your problem, you need to fix it like this, they'll just look at you and say, oh, yeah, yeah, okay, go away, F off, or something ruder, probably. Um, but if you can go up and listen well enough that they open up and be a friend, maybe the wrong idea, but give them be the grease that helps them work their way to the answer they need, with a few hints and stories of other people. The technical details I suspect you'll have a better grasp on than me, but as someone who is working in the farming industry, you'd have that to start with.
I
Hmm.
hmm, I know that many people in the farming industry have troubles. It's a very stressful job. It's very demanding. Demands a lot of time. It puts strain on your family.
Hmm.
Um, but a person who needs help is a person who can't ask for it,
Hmm.
and you can't help a person who can't doesn't want to be helped. You're sort of stuck in the situation. This is the case with all people in trouble, I suppose. If they needed help, they would come to you or come to someone. And the people who need the help the most are the ones who refuse to do it. And they can't be helped no matter what you want to do.
Yeah.
No, you're not going to be able to just go up to someone for a job and, help them with their stuff if they don't want that. Maybe as a friend.
Yeah, you're right.
Um, it'd be nice to be able to do that. It's one of those things that is very, we wish that the world was made this way, that we could do things like this to help people, but it's not. And it's a shame. What I'm realizing during this conversation is that I don't know what I want. really. And I was hoping you've done it quite well, that you'd sort of poke and prod and ask good questions. And I think the question of, would I leave everything that I have with this if I had something better that I define as better? Maybe. Yeah, maybe I'd go back to the city if I would walk in and be a psychologist tomorrow. Or, I don't know, something of that nature. But there is the opposition of office wage slave. At least I've
Hmm.
learned I don't know what I want, but that there's something calling to me. I need to do something of a higher purpose and value than what I'm currently doing. And the only thing outside of work that is this currently. And I need other things,
The way I've
which,
tended to approach those vague uh, impulses is like, I need a thing. What's the thing? I don't know it, but I really need it. Um, is it's got the imagery of like tempting a shy animal out of a hole. It's like you just sit there with it and give it the space to work itself out. Like there's something there, but it's not fully formed. And talking about it is a part of the process, but you need to give it the space to develop. Just give it the empty space in your mind to work itself out. And even if you can't see what's happening in it, you can often feel the thinking happening. It's like I feel the gears turning even if I don't know what they're doing. Even if they're not, even if I'm not turning them, if that makes sense. And let that feeling work itself out until it's ready to introduce itself to the rest of the council of you.
hmm, all I can come up with is that I think I need to dedicate myself to something that I see as valuable, where the only limit on my success is my time and effort that I put into it. And what that
Hmm.
feels like is I need to go back to uni and achieve something greater than I'm currently doing.
I wonder if there are any online university courses that New Zealand universities would recognize.
The ideal. What, look like cross accreditation?
Yeah,
Mm.
I have my doubts about them, but they might require you to prove your knowledge. But saying I've done this much study through this online university, and I would like to do sufficient work here to prove my knowledge, or do sufficient work remotely to prove that I know the subject material, or say do a quarter of the coursework.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Maybe I just realized a problem with me.
Hmm.
I don't I don't know if I like stability. There are many things that make me anxious and nervous when they're unstable, but perhaps I don't. I need to be able to strive. And if I can't strive in the field that I'm in, I want to change field. And I don't know how I can square that with financial stability for my family. How can I be a person who moves around and changes careers, let alone jobs, and still have stability for them?
How many aspects are there of farming that you haven't explored yet?
Many, but they're all jobs, not careers. Other
So
people can
it's
do physical things better than I can.
hmm.
I wanted to do this because I wanted to know that I could do it. And I wanted to be out away from the city where the air is clean, where it's quiet, and I can see the stars. But it's hard to reach for them here.
I'm getting a sense of what is it like a compulsion to find dragons to battle.
Yeah. I need a bigger problem to solve than the one I have. I don't I don't want to be stuck in a job forever. Just doing the same thing day in, day out that I could do. I don't know. I need a calling, I suppose.
I a calling I think may be too stable for you.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
I've just
There's
got
a sense of
an
I want a
image.
problem that's going to take me a long time to master. What's your image?
um of the mind you um like a oh like a big muscly MMA or wrestling fighter who's got a few downed foes around him and is yelling at everyone around him, "Fight me!" It's like you want the challenge. You need it, and if you don't have it, there's a part of you that just breaks. Just that was the image I got. I don't know how accurate it sounds to you, but
I don't know. I think there's probably some truth there. Also,
mhm.
that sort of thing. I think Peterson said many times that I haven't educated myself to the level I think my intellect deserves.
Hmm.
I'm not reaching high enough. I need to reach higher than I am. What I have found here is perfect stability for the rest of my life and stability for my family, money, food, safety, which is what I wanted. And now I'm sitting here on top of that wee hill saying, I could do this forever, make more than enough money for my family, and have a comfortable life. And I'm not happy. But
So
then my only hesitation with running back to doing something greater is anxiety about losing the stability. Ah, of course, that's the neuroticism coming in.
not entirely
Gotta be,
misplaced.
yeah, yeah. I don't. What's more important?
Are they mutually exclusive? Like the
Reaching for
kids,
something higher is certainly risky.
but you don't need to do it all at once. You can break your dragons down into smaller ones and then give yourself a swarm of them to fight. And if they're small, then you can fight as many as you can and then get on with life. It's like you
It's a
don't.
remote learning currently.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you talked about having found a place of great stability at the intellectual level you are currently able to achieve, more due to education than innate ability.
I see what you mean. Yes.
And so you
Yeah.
can elevate your one way to elevate yourself to a higher level of education is to go and make that the focus. So you go to university and study your way up until you're at the level that seems appropriate. But part of the reason why you can climb quickly there is because it's the only thing you're focused on. But you've got your everyday responsibilities, and so you can't climb that ladder. But there are other ladders. And then once you're at a higher intellectual level, even if you don't have the pieces of paper, um, once you have the knowledge and the education, getting the piece of paper becomes easier, I would say.
Mm, yeah, I can see that.
So rather than learning something from the ground up and proving you know it all the way at each step, as you would at university, you walk in even to university, and then your goal is to prove you know it. So you might only need to study 10% of the time to check the nomenclature and say, oh, this is how you're doing it. And then you've got five other ways of doing the same thing that are different to the way they're teaching. So you can see extras, and you wouldn't be able to rapidly climb to the highest you've reached on your own, but you could rapidly climb halfway there. And you keep climbing on your own, finding dragons to fight on your own, and then after practicing on bigger dragons solo, you come back and fight a few smaller ones to climb yourself up. And there are
Mm,
various industries, I think, where the recognition of learning comes down to a much smaller event. Now, this is possibly incorrect, but I get the feeling uh, that some trades work like that. There's a lot of them have apprenticeship hours that you need to complete too, which doesn't fit so well. But yeah, I might be wrong about that. But it feels like there's industries where the proof is much shorter than the learning. Where for things like education, well, things like engineering or psychology, the proof is the learning. So it's, did you spend the 5 years at university? Yes, no.
mm.
As
Whereas something
opposed
like
to,
computer science or programming is not the case.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
portfolio based. Can you show that you can do the thing that we want you to do?
yeah. And I don't know if it works the same with accounting. Um,
I think there's a degree of certification required because you're dealing with like the tax side of things, which becomes legalese pretty quickly.
hmm. Yeah, because I've had some clips come up on YouTube of, what was it? The TV show Suits, which, from what I gather in the clips, one of the characters is almost savant level smart. He taught himself Harvard level law and is better than most Harvard graduates. and then went to this law firm and sort of half bluffed, half blustered his way in, and honestly said, I didn't go to Harvard, but we only hire from Harvard. I'm better than all of them. Open that massive law book on your desk, tell me the page number, and I'll read out whatever is on that page from memory. How did you do that? Because I studied it for when I passed the bar, because he'd already passed the bar and become a certified lawyer by bluffing his way through. And so he managed to bluff his way into this job. And then apparently it was a big storyline about the fact that he wasn't an actual Harvard graduate being slowly revealed. And something like that, but out in the open, is what I'm thinking of as a good fit for you, where you everyone goes through the official channel, but it's not actually a requirement. And so you stand there with all the knowledge that going through the official channel gets you, and you sort of pass the finish line, and then everyone else is like, "Hey, where were you for the rest of the
Hmm.
race? I was coming over from the other side of the hill," and you cross the same finish
Yeah,
line.
because then I can do the background learning and not risk the stability that I have.
Yeah,
Because that's really the key here is that I want to reach for something higher. I want to do something greater, but I don't want to lose the safety net that I've built for myself here
yeah. And so you can
because
keep
it's a
that
really
safety
good
net.
safety net.
Yeah, but you can also reach in a few different directions at the same time, and you don't need to
Yeah, and it
restrict
doesn't cost
yourself.
me anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost me anything but time. I just mean I can explore many different things and
Hmm.
figure out what the thing I actually want to do is.
Yeah, and if you explore five and then decide on one, those five aren't wasted. It's like knowing some accounting is probably going to come in handy so that a situation comes up and it's like, oh no, no, you got to do it this way. And you know the limits of your own knowledge. So, yeah, and now you got to go talk to an accountant to get this bit signed off. But this is about what you need, and you know the
Uh,
structure of it.
that comes back to that master of more than one domain thing. If you're 90 to 99% in one field, you'll get a job. If you are in two fields, you can get paid, 5 times as much as the other guy, and you can work on your own time. But if you have three different things that you're all a master in all of them and they can all intersect, you're
Hmm.
like the only person on the planet who can do that one thing that is the intersection of these three disciplines. And you can charge anything you want.
Yeah.
And that going in many different directions at once might be a good idea, especially if I can think of a way to interlink them.
Yeah, and it's not so much about how high you can reach. Like you can train up to be the world's greatest physicist working at CERN, or you can have enough understanding of physics to be in the 95th
Yeah.
percentile, which can
Yeah, you
look
want
at,
to do the diminishing returns.
yeah,
So
like that,
you do a tenth the work but get 80% of the result. And then
yeah,
you do that in 15 different fields or something like that
yeah,
and find a
exactly.
way to link them together.
Yeah.
That would be ideal.
Considering the heights of modern physics, the 95th percentile is probably only 5% up the mountain.
Yeah, but you're still better than most people, which is the important part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
while
I think that's
maintaining a
one to
sense
look
of
at.
humility and understanding what you don't know rather than what is it, the Frank Huber curve, it's often termed, although it's a misnomer from the actual research. But the don't get into the trap of knowing a little bit so you think
Oh,
you
and
understand it.
think you know a lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then you learn more and you realize how little you actually know.
yeah, yeah. Do enough to get
Yeah.
yourself into the dip of that on a whole bunch of subjects.
Yeah, and then slowly creep up from there.
Yeah.
I guess I need to figure out which directions to go in. I think a return to technology is one. Um, but I want to go two different ways there, so that's already two different things. Um, I always wanted to go programming because that's the way I sort of envisioned myself having that laptop future. But I was really, really good at networking. I got A pluses in every class I ever took in that one.
Hmm.
So maybe that's the way to go back. Get my Cisco certification.
I'm
That
just
would be cool.
I'm just thinking my current workplace, and it's almost a prime example of this the intersecting disciplines. So the guys who work in the workshop, one of them is he was a geek before he went to university and then did a little bit of computer science but didn't finish the course. He's been learning welding and machining from that's cool, I'd like to learn it, up to manufacturing stuff. And he's also our IT management guy now that we have an IT system. So he's set that up. The other guy in the workshop has finished his Bachelor of Mechanical Engineering and started learning machining and welding and so on with a similar attitude. He's also doing some design work in the office. The guy who studied law, I overheard him talking about learning graphic design on the side. Um, the guy who does the marketing. He studied science education, and he's sort of business promotion and running around the country talking to potential investors, and I'm there doing programming with a Bachelor of Mechanical Engineering as the intersection of programming and physics in the time I get while my son's at school. And it's like everyone there is an intersection of two disciplines, and Sam, the boss, seems to be the intersection of experience and engineering. Like he's made lots of mistakes to get to where he is now, which is really valuable. Um, he has built up the ability to get a she'll be right design because he knows how right it'll be or how much fudge there is in the numbers and how much fudge there's room for. He's read old books and learned from them. He did 6 weeks of mechanical engineering and then dropped out to go back to this. And he's frankly a better engineer than me.
Hmm. Is that difference between real world talent and learning from paper?
Yeah, I've got the theoretical side more than him, although some of it's rusty. He's got the theoretical side from reading books written in the last century or two.
Practical application.
Yeah,
When theory meets reality, it's no longer theory.
yeah, and so
And that's where you want your skill to be.
yeah, he learnt it from that end. Reading, like, he found a whole bunch of old patents on governors, and so there's a file of them on the network drive now of old patents, so we can look through them and understand how they work. And he's trying to move us away from doing everything in the black box of the computer. It's like, no, no, we have to bring it back out. He does his drawings on paper because that works better for him, and it means you actually have to think about it before you put it down. He's getting paper drawing equipment for the rest of us in the office too. Although we do have two CAD machines running SolidWorks, so we can do it on CAD, and it's like all the intersections, and like the technology itself is an intersection of modern thermodynamics and computer modeling with century old, well, half century old steam technology that was awaiting a few more advancements that were sitting there waiting for it. And yeah,
I miss my design days. He's definitely right about that. Doing it on paper when you have to sketch something out is so much more valuable than just messing around in the CAD drawing.
mm,
Because of that, I need to get this right and not make a mistake or have to redo the entire plan. You're forced to think about what you're doing before you do it,
mm.
rather than, creating a 3D model and then just printing render and going, "Oh, I'd like a cross section, please." Like, no, you have to think about all of the parts and how they lay out, you know, in your 3-axle drawing. I miss that time.
Oh,
There's so many things I wish I had done. Wish I could go back to being 18 again. and go and do something better. I've wasted my life. I
The,
really have.
there was an interesting thing that, oh, not to ignore where you were going with that point, but it might
That's all right.
circle around to adding on to it, but awareness that um so taking our personality as a set of subroutines we've written, and like if you have a job that you don't really have to think about or you quote know how to do, you just sort of go through the motions, you know how to respond to everything that comes up, and you don't need to uh, be aware of what you're doing. And several of the engineers in the office work like that, and I am aware of that tendency and working to improve it. Where the way Sam approaches it, he is having made enough mistakes to wake himself up, he watches those algorithms work, and I think we each have a limited amount of awareness to spread around, and so we naturally economize our usage of it. Like what we can do automatically, we do, and it can take a quite a bit to wake us up to the fact that we need to do this consciously and need to consciously rebuild uh, our algorithms to suit the environment and suit and change according to when they don't work as well. And uh, when you're younger, you're writing messy code in yourself. In a sense, the you that most people think of as themselves, or the self that most people think of as themselves, is the code you've written, to use the programming analogy, in your youth, or the code that was copied from your environment. And then you look back at that, having learnt a bunch of lessons and rewritten the code, and look at the choices you made with uh, your version 2 or 3 of your code of self, and say, wow, version 5 could have done so much better. And yeah, it's an interesting concept to try and work out how to help people wake up, in a sense. It's like people talk about being awake, or it's been taken over in one sense by the woke movement, which is where that comes
I think
from. But
aware is better.
yeah, it's like people talk about being present or conscious or aware, as you say, and they're all sort of talking about that same thing. It's like a revolution in consciousness, and it is a revolution in the same way that a standing wave in a river is a revolution. Of, as in, it's a wave in the water. The water is continuously flowing over it, and it's an ongoing revolution which ebbs and flows a bit, but it's never going to become complete. There's some poetic beauty about the nature of life and reality in there, but yeah, it's the movement forward and the growth of the self that's beautiful in that.
Just make me a little bit uncomfortable in a sense.
Really?
It reminds me of people who had better starts. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm not that kind of person, but it makes me feel, I don't know, something uncomfortable, I suppose, about people who seem to have needed to go through very few revolutions, that whatever personality set was imbibed from their parents was good enough to help them make the right choices early, who may have massive head starts in life over someone like me who made nothing but mistakes for, 20 years and now am in this position.
There's a philosophical or metaphysical difference there that the people who were given the right answer the first time round, if that answer was no longer applicable, wouldn't be able to work out another one that would work anywhere near as well. But someone who's made every mistake on the way to finding the right answer and then looks at the people who had that answer at the start and says, "Well, you were so lucky." If the situation changed and that answer was no longer applicable for some reason and they needed to act differently, then they could find a new answer that would work again, where the people who had the right answer for the old situation from the start couldn't.
I understand the value in being the person who built their life for themselves rather than have it handed to them. But I still feel a deep jealous, jealous, maybe resentment, envy of those who did have it handed to them. Part
Hmm.
of me yearns to have a life so easy. But it's not easy. It's self-deception, isn't it?
Yeah.
They still had to make the sacrifices. They just perhaps that's envious of parents who put in that effort. It's hard to know. I've got a quote coming up in my head from a movie that is, I don't know, seemingly relevant. Rather struck me in this movie. It's a girls' movie about a girl who wants to ice skate or something. And her mother is against the whole idea and wants her to go to college and this, and she's very dry and practical. And she has this line when she meets some famous ice skating person and said, um, no matter how old or successful we get, I guess some of us will still always hate the prom queen. And I don't know why, but that came up in my head and it really struck me when I heard it. Some people have a better start and do well because of it.
So who said the
And
line to
yes,
who?
they
The mother.
was the mother of the daughter, the person who wasn't successful early in life but was successful later,
Ah.
the one who didn't have a good start but got there in the end.
Was she saying it to the successful ice skater?
Yes,
Hmm.
there's this notion I feel in it that it's hard not to hate those who had the better start, who are. It's not that they're successful because of the things they were given, because they did work themselves. Everyone does, even those who seem like they don't. But there's an envy of those natural abilities or circumstances that that person took advantage of. I don't know, that just popped into my head and wouldn't go away.
Yeah. There's something else. I'm just thinking there's another concept there somewhere to balance it. Because
Those who are given often waste.
Yeah. Like there'll be a lot of people who were offered the right answer and ignored it. And
Even those who didn't feel like their destiny was stolen from them. Because it's very often those same people whom the rest of us hate that were forced to do a thing by their family.
yeah, yeah, they weren't given an
That it
option.
like it looks rosy and pretty from the outside, and maybe they're successful, but maybe they're miserable.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of
There was a
the gymnastics competitors where it's
yeah,
every day after
it's
school, 3 hours of gymnastics training in order to get to the Olympics, and it's like,
it's actually a big part of that movie is that the it's sort of two daughters from two mums who want to do what the other one does,
hmm,
and they want to do it out of passion, but their parents are forcing them to do the thing that the parents do or did, living their dream through them.
hmm,
And one of them is, professional figure skater or whatever, and she's going on about like, I'm annoyed that I don't get to eat what I want or hang out with my boyfriend or that I'm likely to fail college because I don't have time to do maths homework.
hmm,
But she has to do this because her mum's the trainer and makes her do it. And vice versa for the other character who wants to do the ice skating thing. But her mum, like, trying to get her into Harvard, effectively. It was a good movie. Very girly, but it was one of those sort of early 2000s Disney movies that was actually about something good, achieving your dreams and all of that. There was something that I heard someone say on a podcast recently that also struck me, definitely on this topic, that was you can't look at another person about something that they have and wish that you could have just that part of their life.
yeah,
Their being is not able to be broken down into pieces like that. The question shouldn't be, would I like to have this one thing that I envy about this other person?
hmm,
Popular or successful or better family. The question is, would I trade everything about being me for everything about being them?
hmm,
And regardless of how envious you are of another person, if you answer that question honestly, I think you will always say, no, I'd still rather be me. It doesn't matter how nice the mask is, there's always demons in the background. You don't know what kind of demons other people have.
yeah.
And you lose everything about being you that you like. You can't
Oh,
just cherry pick the pieces you want.
I'm just thinking of not, well, there's a few pop songs which um I'm not sure if they are pop, but been on the radio I've listened to while driving, um, which have a sentiment along the lines of like smiling in front of the cameras and the paparazzi and the interviews while tears roll down behind the sunglasses.
I think that's pretty common.
Yeah,
So I don't really want to be a public figure of any kind.
yeah. But so many
You have
people
to
envy,
maintain that image.
yeah,
Yeah,
but so many
fame
people
and
envy
success.
that. And it's like, do they envy the loneliness, the shallowness,
Mm.
the desperation that goes with that? It's like,
Well, it's like this the Facebook effect. People only post the best parts of their lives, and then people are like, "Oh my god, your life's amazing." That person could be depressed for all you know,
oh yeah.
but they're not going to show you that. Why would they show you when they're vulnerable or sad or broken up or stub their toe or anything? They're only going to show when they were half naked on the beach in the sun with their big fancy do car or whatever.
There was something I remember about Robin Williams that someone talked about. Was it, he was a massive fan of Robbie Williams, and he managed to follow him into his trailer at the end of a session on a movie set or something, or at a comedy thing, and so he was all smiles and so on outside, shut the door, and then he just collapsed. And he said, "Don't do drugs, kid," because from what I got from this little bit, he'd fried his dopamine system and just couldn't really feel happy anymore. And he could play it, and I guess he got something out of it, but like he committed suicide. He was
Yeah, you could see
miserable.
it coming too. If you
Yeah.
go back and listen to some of the things he said on, public interview shows and the jokes he made, if
Mm,
you looked at him while he was making the jokes, you could see that like they were cries for help and
mm,
no one heard it.
yeah. It's like there's something about your burdens being as much as you can bear, but they are as much as you can bear. And
Yeah.
while you may wish for the rewards of other people's burdens, their reward might end up feeling hollow to you. Their burden might be too much for you. It's like, frankly, if the burden's easy, the reward's not going to be worth it, or it's going to be small.
This is
And
the big problem, isn't it? It's like the idea of retirement.
mm,
I'm gonna sip margaritas on a beach in Mexico. That's a postcard.
mm,
That's not a plan. We all want to be happy, and we want to be, you know. Oh, it makes me think of that Black Mirror episode. Did you ever the one with the rating system, social credit score? Did you ever watch that?
no,
Okay, there's it's like a social credit score, but it's not centralized and government based.
mm.
It was individuals ranking each other
If you get,
based. So it was like social media controls
yeah.
CCP's social credit score.
So if an individual gets too many downvotes, they get lobotomized or something?
Um, Socially ostracized,
Aye.
effectively.
There was an episode of The Orville that
Access
had
to
that.
yeah, access to services,
Mm,
better communities for higher rankings, etc. It was like a currency almost.
mm,
Um, and the character has one of these moments where her brother's sort of pressing her about why she's playing the stupid system. And she has this thing about wanting to finally get somewhere where she can just breathe and be happy. Like the stress of constantly trying to get there. She just wants to achieve it so she can relax and breathe and be happy. And it makes me think that what human beings seem to really want, what we want, is to be happy and to not be stressed. And we seem to also think we want to not work. But the problem is that work towards a goal, particularly, is what makes us happy. We can't be happy without work. It's not how human beings are made.
I wonder if that bit's cultural. The thought that we would be happy if we didn't have to work.
Like a,
Mm,
a societal lie kind of setup.
yeah, yeah. I think it's an
Maybe
inbuilt
we're certainly
temptation.
ingrained in us for most of our
Hmm.
lives. You can finally be happy if you buy this,
Hmm. 'Cause
achieve this.
I think the impulse to avoid unnecessary work, to be a little bit lazy, is ingrained, as in food's hard to come by, don't waste the energy it gives you. But at the same
I
time, cultures can
don't think it's
understand.
that.
Well, I think that's the evolutionary basis of it.
Oh, yeah, but the lie is somewhere in the idea that there's a final state you should be aiming at.
Mm,
That we've all grown up being like, if I can just get here, then I'll be okay and I'll be happy. And the reality is, no, you won't.
mm,
And I guess that's what I'm running into now, is that I've hit one of those plateaus where I'm at a point of like, well, where do I go from here? Because I can't just be here forever. I won't be happy. And yeah, I can find meaning in, homeschooling and stuff like that with the kids, but you can't just have meaning in your family. You need to have meaning in what you do with your time. You know, maybe a certain type of person can, work at the supermarket checkout forever, but it's not me.
mm,
And that's not I'm better than them. That's just I can't do it. This job is something different every day and I'm getting bored of it. And it's new and different every day and things I hadn't done before. And I'm going, nah, I need to do something better. One day, I really hope that my really weird, creative, and hopefully intelligent temperament will actually pay off for me. Because so far it's been nothing but a huge pain in my ass. Like, it's nice, don't get me wrong, I like it, but it's not exactly conducive to success in this world. Too destabilizing.
mm.
I can barely make it the 2 years in any given thing before moving on. And most people, when they do the 2 year switch up, they stay in the same field. For me, it's been like 6 months to a year in any given field, and then I want to change fields entirely. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel lost, I suppose. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, that feeling's no fun.
No. I mean, I can do this for now, and it's busy enough that it keeps me, occupied, but it's not enough. Perhaps I've been, mentally scratching that itch for the past few years with helping my wife, you know, get her life together and recover from everything and become the person she should be. So I've kind of done that now. She doesn't need my help anymore. She's amazing. And I'm unbelievably happy with that. Like, family life, check. I've nailed it.
Mm,
I mean, I noticed as soon as that happened, like the same day, this cropped up in my life. It's like, okay, that's that, but job is not that. Job is not checked. I need something else.
yeah.
Hmm. And to go from here. Hopefully by next time I'll have some ideas. I mean,
Yeah.
you've definitely been helpful.
I'm glad it's helped you in your conundrum, and we should probably both head to bed because stuff tomorrow.
Yeah, back into work. And I gotta gonna go find out what I'm having for my third child tomorrow, which is cool.
Ooh, yes, very exciting.
Very exciting. I would like a son. I've said that on the internet now. I really hope it happens. Ah, I'm mildly depressed if it doesn't.
Mm,
But we'll find out tomorrow. Either way, a topic for next time.
Yep, that sounds like a good plan.
Yeah. It's bad that if the news is worse for me, then there's more of a topic, but that's okay.
Ah, well.
Thank you for your help tonight.
Well, it's been
I'm very
enjoyable.
good. You're good at asking questions, and sometimes I need someone to help me ask questions. So, yeah,
I like that
and
as
I
a
feel like
skill.
I feel like I need it some more on this topic. So maybe we can do some more next time.
Yep.
Till then, good night, everybody.
Good night.